if you don't have the right visa, it's pretty unlikely you're going to be able to get into the country that you're interested in coming into. And certainly that's the case in the United States. I mean, they're very strict. Their border controls have always been quite strict. This idea, Richard Di Natale this week was talking about Donald Trump being on the phone saying, don't let her in. But obviously that's not what happened here.
Don's got nothing else on his mind other
that's right,
than
that's right.
Yassmin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not dealing with what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. No. What he's mostly concerned about is Yassmin Abdel-Mageid. Look, I mean, if you're coming into a country too, and you're coming in on effectively a tourist visa, which she had said she was on, and you're speaking at a conference, of course there are going to be questions asked. You get to the border and they have that classic question: are you here for business or pleasure? And she, might have said, well, I'm here to speak at a conference. And they said, well, that's a bit strange because you're on a tourist visa. So look, if you don't have the right paperwork, you often get sent home.
And plenty of people have been. They're quite strict there. This isn't some isolated incident of them imposing the rules. How long is she going to dine out on this, Simon? Are we going to be hearing about this for...
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, she said that in her tweet, right? I mean, one of her tweets, she was talking about, the process that she'd gone through. Someone's counted how many times she tweeted while this process was being undertaken, but one of her tweets was...
She had no phone, but she was still tweeting like a trooper.
Yeah.
What was happening there?
She must have found a computer somewhere that she could quickly log into. Yeah, exactly. She's got a burner phone, apparently. But one of her tweets was talking about throughout this whole process, all she could think of is what a great anecdote this would be. What a great story it would be for another book. That's a genuinely very good question. I mean, you spend a lot of time on
I love it, I've got to
Twitter.
say. I know it's a putrid place, but I still love it.
Yeah, and look, I love a bit of the, the to and fro that goes on Twitter too. I mean, a lot of these people, though, have obviously got a huge amount of time on their hands, whether they're university students or public servants or whatever, who knows? But they've certainly got a lot of time on their hands, and most of what they tweet out is just bile. I mean, even... there was a terrific article actually in The Australian this week that even talked about some pretty high-profile people, including people like Julian Burnside. And Julian's a nice guy in person, but his Twitter account is just full of this stuff. It's just awful sort of comparisons.
There's a lot of projection from those types.
It's terrible stuff.
Who always talk about eliminating hate and hate speech. And then you look at what they're putting out there, and
which is precisely
pretty hateful.
It's
stuff.
awful. It's awful stuff. And I mean, this is precisely the conversation that they started to get into before this Senate committee, where they talked about hate speech. I mean, he was asked at one point, Mark Zuckerberg, what is hate speech, and he struggled to give a definition for hate speech.